Now, it's time for the Neighborhood Connection.
All right, guys, we had a great question come in on how to hang a pot rack, but there's some planning before you go out and buy one. First off, where's it gonna go? I'm not the biggest fan of the ones that hang from the ceiling because they can look pretty cluttered. Something that hangs on the wall is a much better option. Now, a couple things, if you've got drywall up there, you might have to build a board or something because that pot rack can have a lot of weight on it and drywall's not gonna hold it up. So you might have to put a backer board up before you do it. I found this, it's 36 inches wide, and let's put it together and I'll show you how this thing goes in. So we've got a couple pieces here. Now this one is kind of an industrial look. It looks like it's basically pipe, and you could almost make this at the hardware store with some standoffs and stuff yourself without having to go on and buy one. It'd be pretty easy to do. So the first thing we're gonna do is put this thing together. So that way we can kind of fit it up on the wall and see how it goes. Get this slid together. One thing, if you do buy them, they've got a powder coated finish on it, so at least it's gonna hold up pretty well to heavy duty use, which I like. So since I'm going into wood siding out here, I don't have to do a lot of prep for this. Just want to make sure I get it right where I want it. So I think something like that's going to look pretty good. I'm going to be hanging my pizza stuff off of this to keep it off the ground and off the countertops. I think that's pretty cool right there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a screw here and sink it in, and then we'll level it off of that. All right, there's one. I'm going to stick my level on this here. All right, that is right on the money. Now I'm going to sink in the other one on this side, get her locked in. All right, they give us plenty of little hooks up here. Just going to equally space these around. I like they do not skimp on these. Got lots of options. Not going to put them all up there. Let's start hanging stuff up here. There we go, and that's how you hang a pot rack. It doesn't matter if it's in your kitchen or in your outside one. This is really great space for those awkward things that don't fit in your cabinetry. Hope that helps you and answers that question on how to hang a pot rack. We had a great question come in on how to tune up those loppers, because when you're out trimming with them, they can get pretty dull. Let me show you how. After a few years using your lopping shears, they get pretty dull and beat up, and today I'm going to show you how to fix that, make them as good as new. So the first thing we're going to do here is take this thing apart so we can get this sharpened up. This one has seen better days. And a couple things we're going to look at how these go together. We've got a couple bolts and nuts here. I'm going to try to keep this as together as possible so that way it's a little easier to sharpen. Now if they start falling apart and these things get loose, you can actually go through and just get new of these washers and nuts. It'll hold it back together again. They do wear out if you take these apart. Get this thing completely taken apart. That way we can really get this in the vise here and sharpen it up, because these blades have a smooth side on one side that's perfectly flat, and then that knife basically cut is on the other side. So what happens is that gets bent over, it gets beat up. All it takes is a little rock or something when you're cutting roots. We've got a really bad spot right in the blade right here where it's been hit onto something. Looks like maybe a rock or a piece of metal or something. And there's just all these different areas here where that tip is folded over. You can kind of see it on this edge as well, right here and then right here. This is going to be easy to tune up. So let's see what we can do with this. All right guys, so this thing's really bent up. I've got it in the vise so I can work on this. It's nice to have something holding it when things are sharp like this. And I can see that this blade tip right here is actually bent forward a little bit. So I'm going to actually come in here and just see if I can get that a little straighter. If I do that, it keeps the metal having to come off of this. So it's going to actually extend the life of it. So this has just been curled over a little bit, and that's already making a difference there. I've got the same issue right here. That saves me having to take so much metal off if I can get in here and just get that kind of rolled back over. Doesn't take much because it's a real thin part of it. You never want to hit on the blade like this, because then you're just going to have to do even more work to get this dialed in. So the next thing I'm going to do here is hit this with a file on this edge here and try to see if I can get something flat. I'm going to start on the back because this is actually machined surface this way. Now this is really coarse for this, but since this was so beat up, I want to kind of get this edge that's a little turned over here kind of straighten back around. So I'm going to just give it a little kiss with this to get that big chunks out of the way. It'll save us here when we go into the sharpening stage. Here I'm just trying to get this so we've got a basic shape to it. That's perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little water on this stone here. This is a pretty aggressive stone. Usually you do this on it, but I kind of like this for this situation where we've got this in the vise. I can start to really pay attention to my angle here and work it this way. Just trying to get that general angle here on this so these things will work a lot better. You don't want it too sharp because then you're just going to fold the edge back over again. So you're looking for something that's going to cut. These aren't made out of the finest metal, so it's not like it's going to hold that edge forever. So you just want to have something that's consistent and fairly sharp and let your leverage do the work. See, I'm getting material off on here. A little more water. All right, let's get this out of here. All right, I'm happy with that. That feels real good. Now I gotta get these things back together. Let's go outside and see how they work. All right, let's see how these things do. Okay, that's working really well. Let's see how it works on this old dead wood. All right, those are fine-tuned. They cut so much better. And that's how you tune up your loppers.